Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning as we are studying together Perashat Vayigash. And today, my friends, I want to share with you a most magnificent, beautiful piece from the Ora Hayim HaKadosh. But before we do, today's class is sponsored for the Refuah Shlema of all of Am Yisrael. Today's class is dedicated for the safety and protection of the soldiers of Tzva Haganah Yisrael, for the return of the hostages, Bezrat Hashem, safely, in peace, alive, in shalom. Please, in the merit of the learning that we're doing here today and every day, Chazak Baruch to our sponsor. Hashem should bless you with all the blessings, with peace of mind, with clarity of direction for your children, for everyone around you. Amen. Okay, my friends. So here we go. Perashat Vayigash. And today, I would like to share with you a Ora Hayim that really is going to just take its own class. Okay? Its own class. Yesterday we spoke a little bit about Yosef and his sensitivity when he revealed himself to his brothers. But today I want to share with you a question of the Ora Hayim, and it's the most famous question that will be asked on all of these parashiot, on the entire saga of Yosef and his brothers. So if I were to pause right now and ask you guys, what is the most obvious, most basic question that we all are wondering and scratching our heads on these parashiot, what would that question be? Okay, give it a couple of seconds. Feel free to write it in while I grab a cup of water. Okay? Did you guys get it? Did you guys get it? Okay, what is the most obvious question on these parashiot? The most basic question is the question that the Ora Hayim is about to ask, and here we go, my friends. Let's read and explain together. Beshem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach. Ra'iti latet lev be'inyan Yosef. Now I have decided to direct my attention to understand Yosef's conduct. Ech lo hash al tsa'ar aviv kama shanim. Question is, how was he not concerned about his father's pain over his absence for many years that he was missing? And basically, Ora Hayim wants to know, why not let your father know you're alive? Such a simple question. For 22 years he was gone. For 22 years he's out of the house. For 22 years, not one attempt to notify his father he's alive, to tell him, I'm okay, your father, all the pain. Vehen emet. Now, it's true. Bimei avduto, when he was a servant, Nuchal Omar, we could probably answer easily, Ki asav velo etzliach, that he tried but it was unsuccessful. When you're a servant, you don't really have the means, the ability to send a letter wherever you want. Yeah, so when he was a slave for the first many years of his life in Egypt, okay, he didn't have the ability. But once he became powerful, why not simply write a letter to his father? Lehefig ta'aro, relieve his pain. Yosef, how many years was he a slave in Egypt, and how many years was he powerful in Egypt? Let's just quickly do the math. Yosef was there for 22 years total. 13 of them, he was a servant, 1 year for Potiphar, and 12 in jail, and 13 years no good, and then 9 years he was powerful. The 7 years of plenty and the 2 years of famine that he was in charge. So for 9 years, Yosef had the ability. He's a ruler. There was nobody more important than him except for Paro. I'm sure he could have sent somebody, he could have sent a letter, he could have figured it out. Yosef knew how much his father loved him. And that he was for sure mourning over him for many, many years. Now the truth is that the Ora Hayim is over here assuming that Yosef knew that his father was mourning and that his father loved him. Although I will say that some commentaries answer. Rabbi Foreman has a beautiful essay, a whole book actually, on this one question. And basically his answer, his theme is that Yosef thought his father was in on the plan of selling him. Now it sounds wild, but if you think about it just for 1 minute, if you let it sit, let it percolate, you'll actually see that it's feasible. Right? Take a second, think about it, okay? you're Yosef. One day your father sends you on a mission to go see how your brothers are doing. Right? Go check up on your brothers. What? My brothers hate me, Dad. You're sending me alone? What exactly do you want me to find out? How they're doing? How are the sheep? Right? What's the latest? What's the weather like in Shechem? What do you want me to find out, Dad? Okay, Yosef says, Hineni, I'll do it. It's dangerous, but I'll do it. Here I am. And he goes out on this mission, and sure enough, his concerns were verified. His brothers strip him from his robe, they dip it in blood, they throw him in a pit, they sell him. As far as he's concerned, Dad is in on it. And not only that, but my father didn't come looking for me. Not only that, but what was the last conversation that he had with his father? It, at least recorded, wasn't such a healthy one. It was, right, Yaakov saying to Yosef, how dare you have these dreams? Are we going to bow down to you? Shame on you, Yosef. Right? Vaviv shamar davar. Now Yaakov on his heart was waiting to see if the dreams would come true. But out loud, it was a negative interaction. Yaakov out loud, outwardly, externally was saying, are you crazy, Yosef? Shame on you for even suggesting this. Get out of here. All of a sudden, the next conversation, Yosef, do you mind just going and checking up on your brothers, please? So Yosef, as far as he's concerned, my father is part of his plan. And he has a beautiful whole essay, Rabbi David Foreman, suggesting that that's why he never went home. He never sent a letter home. Yosef thought, they don't like me, and that's fine. I'll move forward. Okay? I'll move forward, no hard feelings. I'll get a new father. I'll get a new family. I'll get a new life. And sure enough, he does. He gets Paro. This guy Paro, to Yosef at least, is this guy he's like a second father to him. We all have, in our personal lives, don't we all have a biological father? But then a guy who actually is like our mentor. That sometimes we respect more than our father. Sometimes we actually we love them maybe more than our own biological father. This person really guides me through life. They advise me on every situation. Many people, their biological father was a very negative figure in their life. And then they have a person like a rabbi or a therapist or somebody that guides them, a guru, a mentor, that they give them real advice on how to succeed. And there's many people that they have this, and that they actually have feelings that are much stronger for the second person than the first. And Yaakov to Yosef was maybe biological father, but nothing more than that, and he moves on. He gets a new father. He gets Paro. Paro, he takes Yosef under his arm, under his wing. He gives him a new name, Avrech, or right, Tzafinat Pa'aneya, and he gives him a wife, and he gives him a job. Right? Who does that for you? Who gives you a wife and a job and a name? Your father. Paro is Yosef's dad, like a new dad. And as far as he's concerned, let's move on. Let's move on. And there's a whole beautiful essay in Mahalach on this that he has, not for now, but actually very, very connected to next week's parasha when they go to bury Yaakov. And Yaakov now asks Yosef to take him and bury him in Israel. And if you read the conversation between Yaakov and Yosef, it looks like it's a very difficult ask. Please swear to me that you're going to bury me in Israel. Why swear? I'll do it. But you realize that this is not going to be an easy thing. And what Yaakov is basically asking Yosef to do is choose. Choose me or Paro. I'm asking you to bury me in Israel. And I know that's not going to be easy for your other father Paro. Paro is going to want to keep me here. And you're going to have to pick. Who do you have your allegiance to? Do you have it to your father or your other father? Me or Paro? And his whole life he never had to really overlap the two. Right? Lo karav ze el ze. Paro has his lane, Yaakov has his lane. I come to you on this holiday, I come to you on this holiday. Keep the in-laws far away from each other as much as possible. But there came a time in his life that he had to choose. When he had to ask Paro to bury his dad in Israel. That was, by the way, not an easy ask. That's slapping Egypt in the face. All right? You lived here for so many years, you want to now leave? What, we're not good enough for you to bury your father there? And it was putting Yosef between a rock and a hard place. And he knew he had to make this decision. He knew it wasn't going to be an easy one. And Yaakov says, please swear to me. He knew how hard it's going to be for Yosef to ask. So he has a very whole mahalach on this of one paro and another father, and this actually is a microcosm of what happens many, many years later in Egypt with the next paro or another paro, and how the Jewish people there as well need to listen to their real father in Shamayim versus paro. Unfortunately, this time paro in Egypt, the second one, the bad one, he's not as humble. He doesn't make room for a God in our lives. It's him and nobody else. The first paro, he does it right. He allows us to have allegiance to our real father Yaakov. And it was supposed to be a paradigm, an example for the story of Egypt later on. And it's a beautiful book if you want to buy it. It's I think he titled it The Exodus That You Almost Passed Over. Something like that. Beautiful book. Here, the Exodus, yes, right here, I have it right here. The Exodus You Almost Passed Over. And the whole book is on this one approach, okay? And now's the time, my friends, okay? It's Tevet, Shvat, Adar, 3 months, 2 Adars this year. So you got 3 months to read this book, and you will come ready for Pesach like a king, my friends, okay? So if anyone's looking for a good book for Passover, Rav David Foreman, The Exodus You Almost Passed Over, and I remember it was very entertaining and very informative, and that's that book right there. But either way, that's all one approach that Yosef thought Yaakov didn't want him home. Ora Hayim doesn't accept any of that. Ora Hayim starts off and says, for sure, Yodeya Haya Yosef for sure is under the assumption that his father loves him and is in pain, and he's mourning, like actually was. Ve'lama lo shalach lebasro. And if that's the case, back to our question. How come Yosef does not tell his father that he's alive? V'tigdal od hakushya, and an even bigger question, al yemei harav, during the famine. Shehayu ovrim v'shavim, that there were many people coming back and forth, travelers between Egypt and Israel and Canaan. Ve'lo chashat sa'aro, not once did Yosef think of saying to somebody, oh, where are you from? Oh, you're from Canaan? Which city? You're from Bet Shemesh? What? Oh my God, you're from that Rehov Sumsum? Sesame Street. My father lives down the block. Just tell him I'm okay. Tell him I say hi. Right? Not one guy does he send a message. Ve'od, mihi tirlo, ahar sheba'u echav. And finally, when the brothers come and he's standing face to face, that's a perfect time to say, hey guys, tell Dad I'm alive. Le'arich lo yemet tzara. He prolonged the pain of Yaakov for 6 more months till the brothers came down the second time. Lehodio techef, and not telling him right away. Who allowed Yosef to do this? Now it's true that when we consider the events that unfolded as a result of Yaakov not knowing that Yosef was alive, that was all decreed by Hashem. Rabim hem shayu tzrichim liyot ken. That really many events depended on it being a secret. Meaning, looking in hindsight, it needed to be that Yaakov would remain unaware that Yosef was alive. Why? Firstly, לשלם יעקב 22 שנים שלא שימש אביו. Over here, Yaakov was punished for 22 years that he left his parents' home. If you remember when Yaakov was a bachelor and he was running away from Esav, his parents sent him to Lavan's house. And he spent 22 years in Lavan's house, 20 years, and he was punished for those 22 years that he was not home. Now the truth is he was actually in yeshiva for 14 years also before that. He was actually away for 36. But the 14 years that he was in yeshiva, he didn't get punished for because that's his parents wanted him to go, right? That's only today do you get punished for going to yeshiva from by your parents, right? Back then, your parents wanted you in yeshiva. So Yaakov does not get punished for the 14 years in Shem Ve'ever. He only gets punished for the 22 years. Now, although also those were years that he was told to go, although those 22 years also they told him to go to get married, but he stayed longer than he should have. And therefore, once you stay longer than you should have, you get punished for all the 22. And therefore, Yaakov, because he left his parents for 22, now measure for measure, his son Yosef has to leave him. And how many years does Yosef leave his dad for? Literally 22 years to the T, to the day. If you do the math, he was away for 13 years, plus the 9 years of plenty, 7 of plenty and the 2 of famine. That's 22 years, okay? And therefore, Really, it had to be like this from God. And also Redu, 210, that Hashem decreed that we're going to be slaves in Egypt for 210 years. That also needed to be that we didn't come down earlier or later. It had to be a secret. And also that Yaakov should go down with a lot of honor. Well, whereas if he would know, then maybe the details would have changed the way the story happened at the end. He says that's all true from God's perspective. But Yosef has free will. He's a player in the game. He doesn't know this. He doesn't know Redu. He doesn't know 22. He doesn't know all these numbers. He doesn't know all these calculations. As far as he's concerned, he's making a free will decision. And what was going on in his head when he chose not to inform his father that he is alive? That's the question right now of the Or HaHayim. And therefore he says, it seems to me, Ki ta'amo shel Yosef ta'am l'shevach. He says, Yosef's rationale was very, very good one. Vehu as follows. Ki me'et yiridato leMisraim. First of all, from the moment that he got down to Egypt as a captive, Ad, right? Et bod varo yitbarach ve'otziom beit asurim lemloch. From the time that he was brought down till he was in jail and he left jail, those 13 first years, entipek beyado leodia le'aviv. There was really no ability for him to inform his father of his whereabouts. So our question does not start for the first 13 years. Even if for the first 13 years, where he was a servant or in jail, he would have been able to send out a message, a telegraph, a letter, somebody, something. Even if you want to argue and say, no, Rabbi, it's not too complicated to send a letter. Fine. Even if it's possible. Chash al nafsho. He was worried for his life. Sheyadu ahiv badavar. That his brothers would find out that he was alive. Why? If his brothers would find out that he was alive, and that he was well, and that he was now trying to communicate with his father, utzad boshtam, due to the humiliation and shame that they would endure before their daddy Yaakov, if he were to discover what they did to Yosef, yimseru atzmam alav, they would set themselves against Yosef, le'abedom haolam, to kill him and eliminate him once and for all, to ensure that the story never comes out. It was vital for the brothers that Yaakov, their dad, never hears the real truth. First of all, they would be very ashamed. And furthermore, probably their father will curse them and kill them all. Just what happened when he cursed his wife Rachel by mistake. Whoever has your idols, he said to Lavan, shall die. He didn't even mean it, and it happened. Imagine Yaakov were to find out that the brothers sold Yosef, what he would do? Forget it. Forget it. They would all get killed instantly. And Yosef knew that if he were to write to his dad, he's alive, and the brothers, they would intercept the letter, they would immediately search for him and hunt him down and kill him. They would want to eliminate him from the world. And therefore, he was very afraid for his life, that his brothers should hear that he was alive. That's all for the first 13 years. However, what about after the 13 years? When he became a sar, when he became a very important minister. Now you don't have the concern that the brothers are going to kill him. Because now he has protection. Now he has security. Now he's powerful. What are you going to enter then? Afal pikin. Even so. Nimna mehodia le'aviv. He still didn't inform his father of his whereabouts for another reason. Vehu al-derech, and it's based on what our rabbis tell us in Masechet Brachot. Mutav sheyapil atzmo lekivshana esh. It's better for a person to die than to milabin penei chavero, than to embarrass your friend publicly. My friends, we learned this from Tamar. Tamar was pregnant from her own father-in-law, which back then was allowed, because he was performing yibum, levirate marriage. But no one knew it, not even the father-in-law. He didn't know it was his daughter-in-law when he cohabited. He thought it was some random lady. And then they found out that she's pregnant, and she was being taken out to be killed, executed. And no one knew that it was real, that it was legal. Everyone thought she cheated. When you're waiting yibum, you're not allowed to be with anyone else. And everyone thought that she cheated, and Yehuda himself said about his own daughter-in-law, take her out to be burned. And as she was taken out to be burned, she knew the truth, and she even had proof of the truth. How did she have proof? She had Yehuda's shirt from the night that they were together. She had his staff. She took him as collateral, and she ran away. She never gave him back because she knew this moment would come. And finally, on this day, she sent a letter to Yehuda and she said, whoever owns these got me pregnant. And she put the ball in his court. She didn't do it out loud. She didn't say, hey, everyone, look, it's Yehuda, and here's the proof. She didn't do that. She could have. But instead, she put Yehuda in the driver's seat. She let him decide how he wants to go about it. Do you want to admit? Do you want to stay quiet? And she was going to be burned. If Yehuda decides not to reveal the evidence, he looks like a good guy and she gets killed. But she would rather be burned than embarrass somebody. Right? And therefore, look how dangerous it is, my friends, to embarrass someone. Chash al kvod ahim, and therefore he was worried about the honor of his brothers, to avoid shaming them before their father Yaakov, Yitzchak, and their grandfather Yitzchak, and all the other members of the family. He didn't want to embarrass his brothers. And he decided that it would be better for his father to be suffering than to embarrass his own brothers. Wow. So answer number one, from year 13 and on, why he didn't tell his father he's alive, because it would be very embarrassing. Not only that, but really it's possible, even after he became a minister. Chashav Yosef, he was still concerned that they would hate him, and even though he was powerful, they could still uproot him from the world. Even though he has security. We know what Shimon and Levi did to a whole city. They wiped out a city of Shechem. Yosef knew very well what his brothers were capable of. And therefore, even after he became powerful, there's still a concern that they're going to try to kill him. And the truth is, our rabbis indeed tell us that when Yosef revealed himself, and he says, Ani Yosef ha'od avichai, when he took off his mask, I don't know if you knew this one, but our rabbis tell us, afilu bimei gdulato, even when he became powerful, when he revealed his identity to his brothers, bikshu le'okro, his brothers wanted to kill him. It wasn't a peaceful, easy conversation. I am Joseph, is my father still alive? Ani Yosef, ha'od avichai, right? Oh, and they all hugged. There was a lot of confusion, a lot of turmoil, and the brothers wanted to kill him according to the Midrash. One of the Midrashim, they wanted to kill him. Because they, even then and there, they knew how dangerous. So you see that Yosef's concerns were legitimate. And that's why for 22 years he kept it all private. Okay? The Hagam, and even though that our rabbis tell us that the brothers came down to Egypt to redeem him from captivity. They were ready to pay a lot of money to free him. So you may say they wouldn't try to kill him because they really came down with feelings of love and peace and brotherhood. That's not true. You know why? It's different. If they redeem him from slavery, for then they would know that Yosef would recognize the brotherly love for him. If they come down redeeming him, then they look like the good guys, then there's no more shame. Then they won't try to kill him because they had a chance to excuse themselves, to prove their innocence. They come out clean, they come out looking like good guys. That's only if they redeem him. But if he snipes them out, if he calls them out, if he says, I'm Yosef, if he ends the game, if game over, if he turns the lights on, guys, here I am, game over, before giving them a chance to redeem themselves, then they look like the bad guys. And they're going to want to kill him. And therefore, and that's really what happened. Yosef does this whole thing. And he sets up the stage and he frames Binyamin. And they do Teshuva. Vayigash elav Yehuda. Yehuda comes and says, take me instead. And now Yosef could say, you've changed. And you've proven not only to me, but you've proven to yourself that you changed. I'm Yosef, is my father still alive? Now they don't feel so bad anymore. Now they come out looking good like the good guys. Now they come out looking clean. Now they come out showing, look, we changed. We wanted to be better. We didn't want to, throw you. Look, we were ready to change. We came looking for you. We were ready to put ourselves for Binyamin instead. So they come out of all this looking clean, looking like the good guys. And this is why Yosef sets up the stage. This is why he does exactly what he does. But right away, he couldn't show. He couldn't show right away. Because he's still in danger. Okay? So, my friends, this is a beautiful piece in the Orah Hayim. A beautiful piece. Just showing us a deeper dimension. We don't read about this in the text. The text just says what it says. But like we said many times, this is probably the most commented story in the whole Torah. Is this story, because there's so much vague, lack of clarity. Who said, what were the feelings, why did they do it? There's so many open ends, loose ends that Torah doesn't fill us in on. And this is one of the questions. Why didn't Yosef tell him that he's alive? And the Or HaChaim says, because Yosef needed to allow the brothers to change on their own, to do Teshuva. He needed to give them a chance to really prove their innocence. And what a lesson, by the way, for us. Sometimes people around us commit wrongs. They hurt us. Sometimes people around us hurt us. It could be our spouse. It could be our employees. It could be our children, our parents. People hurt us. But we have to create a space for them to redeem themselves. We have to give them a chance. We have to allow them to do Teshuva. Not for our sake, but for their sake. For their sake, they need, for their confidence, for their ego, for their self-esteem. If they come out of the story looking like the bad guy, someone did something wrong, don't jump down. Who did it? Show me. Open your pocket. Give them a chance. Say, I don't know who did this. But I'm sure they didn't mean it. Maybe they felt bad about it, or even a minute later. So I'm going to leave the room. And whoever did it, please put it back on my table. Give them a chance to look like the good guy for their own confidence. And Yosef, for 22 years, he's thinking, how could I set up the stage to give my brothers a chance to repent? Where Baalei Teshuva stand, even the righteous people cannot. And Yosef wants to ensure that his brothers get a fair shot at being Baalei Teshuva. If he sends a letter right away, then he comes out looking like the amazing brother, the tzaddik who forgave. But then for them, what does that mean for the rest of time? They're the evil, horrible brothers that plotted against their own brother to kill him. So Yosef sets the stage. Give them a chance to repent, to change, to turn, to do. And sure enough, they've changed. The Yehuda steps up, he saves the day, and he saves the family. They're now together, they're able to forever stay together, united, and to have peace, because he's given them a chance to come to the table and to do what they knew they needed to do. Okay, my friends, we'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day and a blessed day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.